Just about 400 million years ago, the ocean was a slow-motion demolition derby. If you didn't have several inches of literal rock covering your face, you weren't an animal. You were a moving target, a mobile snack. In this era, everything was covered head to tail in rock-hard armor. Fish had helmets, mammals had bone embedded in their skin. Even the squids were encased in giant, 10-foot cone shells. Evolution was obsessed with the shield. Imagine being one of these titans. Imagine being encased in 6 inches of solid, impenetrable rock. You are the ultimate tank. Nothing can bite you. Nothing can crush you. You are the king of the abyss. And then, you feel a faint, rhythmic vibration on your forehead. A 1-inch snail has landed on your face. You are too heavy to shake it off. You have no limbs to scratch it away. You can only watch trapped inside your own invincible vault as the snail melts a hole through your skull with acid and begins to drink your brain while you are still alive. This is why nature deleted the armor. This is why being unkillable became the most terrifying death sentence in history. Welcome to the era where the vault became the coffin. Today, we go into the archives of dark biology to find out why evolution abandoned the living tank, and why the most successful predators on the planet eventually decided that being completely naked was the only way to survive. When we look at the fossil record of the Devonian period, a time roughly 400 million years ago, we don't see an ecosystem of life in harmony. We see a graveyard of failed engineering. In that era, evolution was obsessed with a single, deeply flawed concept: the external skeleton. The oceans were filled with a class of creatures known as Placoderms. These weren't just fish with scales, they were biological fortresses. They were encased from snout to tail in literal plates of interlocking bone, fused directly to their skulls. To a casual observer, these were the ultimate winners. They were unkillable. They were walking vaults. For millions of years, the world was a slow-motion demolition derby, where the only rule was, harder is better. Even early mammals and ancient cephalopods followed this blueprint, wrapping their soft tissue in calcium and rock as if they were afraid of the very water they swam in. But if you look at the apex predators of our modern era, the great white shark, the orca, the blue whale, the armor is gone. It has been systematically deleted from the genetic code of every major success story on Earth. Why did nature abandon the perfect shield? Because being unkillable is a trap. In the dark reality of biology, a shield doesn't just keep the world out, it keeps the animal in. It turns the body into a prison, and eventually, a bone coffin. The armored era was defined by a profound lack of intelligence. Predators like the Dunkleosteus, a 4-ton monster the size of a school bus, didn't need to be clever. They didn't even need teeth. The Dunkleosteus had something far more brutal: gnathal plates. These were sharpened protrusions of the skull itself that rubbed together every time the jaw closed, self-sharpening into a biological guillotine. It didn't hunt by stalking or outsmarting prey. It hunted by simply existing as a more powerful collision than anything else in the water. This was the age of the blunt force. If you were hard enough, you survived. It was a lazy biology. Armor is a low-effort defense for creatures that haven't yet evolved the neurological capacity for speed, camouflage, or strategy. It is a passive survival trait. You don't have to think. You just have to be a rock. But this passivity came with a hidden cost: evolutionary stagnation. When your skeleton is on the outside, your physical shape is a locked file. You cannot evolve a more efficient fin. You cannot grow a larger brain cavity to house a complex nervous system. You are a rigid, inflexible box of bone in a world that was slowly beginning to favor the fluid and the adaptable. While the armored tanks were busy perfecting their walls, a different, more desperate lineage was experimenting with a radical new material: cartilage. The death of the tank began with what biologists call the metabolic tax. Bone is expensive. To build a single plate of armor, an animal must divert massive amounts of calcium, phosphorus, and minerals away from its vital organs and into its exterior. It is a massive, constant drain on the system. Every calorie spent maintaining a shield is a calorie not spent on building a better heart, a stronger reproductive system, or a faster brain. Evolution eventually produced predators that didn't care about the shield. Small, predatory sea snails and marine worms evolved chemical drills. They would land on a slow-moving, armored giant and spend hours, sometimes days, using acid and a serrated, sandpaper-like tongue to melt a microscopic hole through the thickest bone plates. Imagine being a massive, armored titan, capable of withstanding the bite of a Dunkleosteus. but being utterly helpless against a 1-inch snail. You are too slow to shake it off. You sit there, encased in your invincible vault, as the snail slowly liquefies your internal organs through a hole the size of a needle and sucks your life out, leaving the armor perfectly intact. The armor didn't fail because it broke. It failed because it became a liability. It made the animal slow. It made it predictable. And in a changing world, predictability is the fastest route to extinction. Beyond the threat of predators, the armored fish faced a more fundamental enemy: physics. Armor creates a massive energy problem known as thermal inertia. In a cold ocean, a massive bone-encased body is a nightmare to keep warm and active. The placoderms were essentially underwater bricks. Because they were so heavy and stiff, they couldn't utilize ram ventilation, the process of swimming forward to force oxygen over the gills. They had to pump water manually, a high-energy process that kept them in a state of constant metabolic exhaustion. They were slaves to their own weight. Meanwhile, a new class of fish, the Dunkleosteus, or cartilaginous fish, had found a loophole. By replacing bone with cartilage, they became 30% lighter. They became buoyant. They stopped fighting gravity and started using it. They realized that in the dark economy of the ocean, agility is a pay-as-you-go service. An armored fish pays for its defense 24 hours a day, whether a predator is present or not. A shark, however, spends almost nothing on defense while it's cruising. It only pays for its survival in short, high-velocity bursts of speed. By deleting the bone plates, these new predators found themselves with a massive energy surplus. They didn't put that energy into more armor. They put it into processing power. This is the turning point that the living tanks never saw coming. Once animals were freed from the weight of their bone suits, they began to develop complex nervous systems. They traded their shields for intelligence. In the modern ocean, being unkillable doesn't matter if you can be outsmarted. Take the orca, for example. An orca doesn't need to bite through the shell of a modern turtle or the thick hide of a whale. They understand kinetic energy. A pod of orcas will coordinate to ram a target at 40 miles per hour. The armor, no matter how thick, stays perfectly intact. But the shockwave travels through the bone and into the soft tissue, turning the animal's internal organs into a literal slurry. The vault doesn't break. It simply becomes a blender. The orca is a glass cannon. It is naked and vulnerable, but it is so intelligent and so fast that it never allows itself to be in a position where it needs armor. It has moved the battle from the physical realm to the tactical realm. And in that shift, the living tank became a relic of a dumber age. There is a final, darker reason why the tanks died out: the extinction filter. Earth's history is a series of cataclysms. Mass extinctions happen with terrifying regularity. When the environment shifts, when the oxygen levels drop, or the temperature spikes, being invincible doesn't save you. What saves you is the ability to change. Soft-bodied animals are biological clay. Their DNA is open source. Because their skeleton is internal and flexible, they can shrink their body size over a few million years to survive on less food. They can adapt to higher pressures or new diets. They are malleable. Armored lineages, on the other hand, are hard-coded. They are biological bricks. They are specialized for one specific world. And as soon as that world disappears, they are the first to go extinct. They cannot pivot. They cannot shrink without a complete multi-million-year redesign of their external plates. This is why almost every tank from the Devonian era is gone, while the squishy, pathetic-looking fish from the same era kept on going. Evolution doesn't reward the strongest design. It rewards the one that can survive the transition. So, why do we still see armor at all? Why do we have the turtle, the crab, and the snail? They found a loophole in the agility meta. They survived by dropping out of the arms race entirely and occupying low-speed niches. A turtle isn't trying to outrun an orca. It is living in a corner of the world where the predators simply don't have the tools or the patience to crack it open. However, even this is a trap. Have you noticed how many different species are currently evolving into crabs? It's a phenomenon called carcinization. Nature keeps coming back to the crab shape because it's a perfect, low-energy defense for the bottom of the ocean. But even the crab is a dead end. By committing to the shell, the crab has traded its chance to ever become a dominant apex predator. It has accepted a life of scavenging in the shadows, protected by its walls but forever limited by them. It has chosen safety over potential. The modern winners are the ones who embraced vulnerability. The great white shark is a masterpiece of unarmored engineering. Its skin is covered in dermal denticles, tiny, tooth-like scales, but they aren't there for protection. They are there for acoustics and aerodynamics. They reduce drag, allowing the shark to glide through the water in near-total silence. The shark's defense is its invisibility and its offense. It doesn't want a shield. It wants to be a ghost. Even the giants of today, like the whale, have replaced bone armor with a biological buffer. Blubber is a foot-thick layer of dense fat. It's not armor, it's a mattress. If a shark bites a whale, it doesn't hit an organ. It doesn't even hit muscle. It hits a massive, oily shock absorber. The whale survives by being too much work to kill. Once nature figured out how to make brains and high-speed muscles, it stopped looking back. The living tank wasn't a masterpiece of design. It was a failure of imagination. In the dark biology of our world, armor is for the afraid. Vulnerability is for the powerful. The naked predators have won the arms race, not because they are stronger, but because they are free. They are free to grow, free to move, and free to outsmart the ghost of the armored past. For some reason, I'm okay with that. I'm not looking to be headbutted by a sentient rock. For more investigations into the dark, bizarre, and unbelievable side of nature, subscribe to The Dark Biologist. You will never look at the world the same way again.